So, good morning, everyone. Chag Sameach. We are all still reeling from the tragedy at Uvalde. The most detailed official timeline of the shooting emerged a week ago Friday, when Texas Department of Public Safety Director Stephen McCraw told journalists that the gunman entered Robb Elementary School through a back door that an unnamed teacher had propped open. Moments before that, he said the teacher had been using the door to get a cell phone. Later, the video publicly emerged, and it clearly showed the teacher kicking the rock out of the way and slamming the door shut. As for the cell phone, it turns out she actually got it to make a 911 call to protect the students at Robb Elementary School. After the video emerged, and after the teacher's lawyer called the Texas Department of Public Safety, Travis Considine, the chief communications officer, said, "We did verify that she closed the door." It's unclear to me if Stephen McCraw apologized to the teacher, whose grandson, after all, attends Robb Elementary School. It's also unclear why Stephen McCraw wasn't the one to publicly rectify what he broadcast so publicly in trying to denigrate the teacher. It is also the case that many times public officials have had to backtrack after videos have emerged. The one that still resonates for me very deeply is the video that 17-year-old Darnella Frazier, under very challenging circumstances, took. 2 years ago, she stood by and videoed the nearly 10 minutes that Officer Derek Chauvin had his knee on the neck of George Floyd. After the video emerged, the Minneapolis Police Department needed to do an entire about-face on their story that nothing actually happened that was unusual or inappropriate. You have to wonder if Stephen McCraw or Derek Chauvin would have acted differently if they had known that their actions would go public. According to our sages, each of them most certainly would have done things differently. Sages expressed this thought in commenting on an incident in the book of Ruth that we just read a section of. The story of Ruth is a beautiful, moving, and touching one, a story exhibiting the goodness and devotion of plain and ordinary people, like the Robb Elementary School teacher and like Darnella Frazier. Ruth, a Moabite woman, widowed, was a devoted daughter-in-law, a righteous convert to our people. One day, searching for food for herself and for Naomi in a time of famine, she met a gentleman named Boaz, who gave her of his own food as described by our Tanakh. Vayitzbot la kali, vatochel vatispa vatotar. Boaz gave her parched corn, and she ate, and she was satisfied and had a little left over. However, it is on these words that the Midrash, recognizing Boaz's act, nonetheless go on to say, had Boaz known that the Tanakh would eternally record that he gave Ruth some parched grain to eat, he would have given her a banquet. Yes, Boaz, you didn't realize it, but your actions were being recorded. Sure, it was nice that you gave Ruth a little bit of parched corn, but you were very wealthy and could very well have afforded to given her a little bit more than parched corn, especially if you knew that people would be reading about it until the end of time. If only you had realized that you were being recorded, you, Boaz, would have acted differently. And that's what the Torah means, we are told right in the beginning of Genesis. Ze Sefer Toldot HaAdam. This is the story of Adam, and this is the story of everyone, because everyone's story is recorded. Just as the story of Adam and Abraham and Moses and Boaz are recorded in this book, so too our lives are being recorded. As we are told in Pirkei Avot that we studied last night, V'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nechtavim, all of your deeds are being recorded in a book. It's not just Stephen McCraw and Derek Chauvin, it's all of us in our day-to-day existence whose words and actions are constantly being known and recorded. The thought is poignantly made clear in a completely different context in a poem called When You Thought I Wasn't Looking. When you thought I wasn't looking, you hung my first painting on the refrigerator, and I wanted to paint another. When you thought I wasn't looking, you fed a stray cat, and I thought it was good to be kind to animals. When you thought I wasn't looking, you baked a birthday cake just for me, and I knew that little things could be special things. When you thought I wasn't looking, you said a prayer, and I believed there was a God that I could always talk to. When you thought I wasn't looking, you kissed me goodnight, and I felt loved. When you thought I wasn't looking, I saw tears come from your eyes, and I learned that sometimes things hurt, but that's right to cry. When you thought I wasn't looking, you smiled, and it made me want to look that pretty too. When you thought I wasn't looking, you cared, and I wanted to be everything I could be. When you thought I wasn't looking, I looked and wanted to say thanks for all those things you did when you thought I wasn't looking. This beautiful poem makes such an important point that whether we know it or not, we're not different from Stephen McGraw and Derek Chauvin in at least one very important regard. Everything we say and do is being recorded by others, especially our children. The amount of tzedakah we give, the excuses we offer for not giving or for not giving what we could, the comments we make behind the backs of our friends or fellow congregants, our business ethics, our moral behavior, what we eat, what we drink, and watch on our TV or computers or phones, all of these and so much more are being recorded. Yes, everything we do is being recorded, not just by God, but by countless people. And we don't need a Darnella Frazier or a grieving teacher to make them known. They are known by all kinds of people around us, and we don't even realize it. And when you think about this Yizkor service that we're about to commence, what is it, if not a recognition on our part, that so many of the significant and insignificant passages in our autobiographies can be traced to our parents, teachers, mentors, and others who preceded us and left an imprint because we recorded them. Each person, said Oliver Wendell Holmes, is an omnibus in which all their ancestors ride. We are the product of all those lives who have touched and entered our own. Parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, teachers, friends, those who have bruised us and betrayed us, those who have sustained us and strengthened us, those who have added to our burdens, and those who were a blessing to us. It was all recorded and is remembered by us. And like the poem, we're not just talking about the big things. So as we prepare to enter Yizkor, I think to myself, based on this idea, what is it that I recorded and now remember about my own mother of blessed memory. I was blessed with 57 years of beautiful memories, simchas and travels and family togethers. But there are the small things I want to remember now. For one, my mother remembered every occasion of pretty much everyone. Indeed, she sent out over 30 cards a month, every single month, to remember people's birthday, which she personally not only signed, but gave a note. Graduations, anniversaries, and then she would call everybody on their special day to give a personal message. Gestures like these can get lost in the total sweep of the recipient's celebration, but adding to one simcha and letting them know in a way that was not about her, but about them is really a huge act. And this act continues to inform the way my siblings and I act. Another seemingly small act of my mother came every Friday night. She would make our Shabbat chicken dinner different every single week. Lichvod HaShabbat, L'kavod Shabbos, to honor Shabbat, and to get us excited about Shabbat. Chicken cherry jubilee, sesame chicken, chicken cacciatore. Every Shabbat was a veritable feast for the palate, featuring chicken. And my siblings and I love Shabbos to this. So I exaggerate not. A portion of our parents is implanted within us. Unbeknownst to them, they made indelible recordings that have been permanently seared into our very beings. Their obituaries do not lie buried in some old newspaper. They are recorded and very much alive in our hearts and souls. So in these moments before Yizkor, we remember the entries of those who preceded us. Take a moment now, and do so again this afternoon on this Yontiv day, to peek again into the recordings within us of those we remember. And as we remember, let us not only remember the big moments, the wedding, the bar bat mitzvah, the graduation, but try to remember also the small things that maybe went unnoticed at the time, but they did for us daily or often. And let us also ask, what are the entries that you and I are making? What actions are we taking that are being recorded in the lives of those around us and who will follow us? What will our children and grandchildren remember about us? What are they seeing when I think they aren't looking? Yizkor beckons. We pause to remember. Tehei nishmotehem tzurim b'tzror HaYam. May the souls of our dearly departed be bound up in the bond of eternal life. But let us add an additional prayer. Oh God, help me to remember that you are constantly recording me, that this session is being recorded, and let this awareness enable me to bring out the sweetness of my neshama, my soul, the warmth of my heart, and the generosity of my spirit. Tehi nishmati. God, allow my life to be bound up in the lives of others, my circle of family and friends, with those here at HaYam, and those whom I do not know, but whom you will place in my orbit, with all who are living, so that after my fullness, others will gather to bless my name for having lived and shared